All right, it is me, Ari Dossett. What do you see here? The city of Rotterdam. Okay, this Capelle and IJssel, another city. They all grew together over time. Now, when you go to this map, it's from 1820. It's from the same area. You see Capelle, spelled differently with a K instead of a C. And you see Rotterdam. Rotterdam was a small city back then. Charleroi was a town over here. When you go over here, you have Charleroi over here, called Charlois in Dutch. You have Rotterdam over here. In the past, only this here was Rotterdam. The rest was farmland. Have you noticed anything different between this and no, not that. This over here. Okay, again, this and this. Okay, let me show it differently. You have this lake over here, which is the same lake you see over here on Google Maps. All right, this lake over here still exists to this day. Hold on a minute. What happened to all those other big lakes over here? What happened to them? Now, one thing you need to understand here, nobody just drains their lakes like that. And think about it. When you drain a lake, the result is that you'll have empty land, but the land is below sea level. That means that land can be flooded anytime. So, why would you make the effort to drain big lakes just to have land that can be flooded anytime? Why would you do something like that? It's simple. You do that when you have something to hide. What a lot of folks not aware of is that in the Netherlands, there is this dormant underground worship of Germanic deities, including forest deities. Forest deities are those wandering spirits that roam around in forests. Those fallen angels are praised by the locals, and this is what they used to do. And they still do it, but do it undercover these days. The public around there, they want financial and economic ease in their community. So instead of relying on the Heavenly Father, which they should, they go to those forest deities. And as forest deities tell them, listen, I can arrange the ease for you all if you all comply with bringing sacrifices. So the public would kidnap or select some young women or sometimes little girls. They would sexually traumatize them ritually, and eventually they would murder the victim on a stone table, or they would burn the victim alive. And while the victim is burning and screaming of agony, while the victim is dying in the flames, the demon would receive all their trauma. The demon is energized, the paranormal is boosted, and it plays out in smooth success for the locals. I know this is quite harsh, but this used to happen. Okay? Now, those forest deities, sometimes they become skinwalkers. Sometimes they go into the metaphysical state and they walk around as if they're common human beings. But for them to do that, they need to be around a lot of water. Now, what you see here is that there was a lot of water over here, and this was all forest and farmland. So the pagans back then, this map's from 1820, by the way, they had a lot of, I'm gonna say, places to do their sacrifices. I mean, just think about it. If from time to time people from Rotterdam or Capelle or from Nieuwekerk or those over Krimpen on the IJssel and those places, if they would from time to time kidnap or bring some of their daughters and do this crap um, around here in the forest, around the big lakes, and they would eventually uh, drown the victim over there, or they would burn the victim alive, and it would sink to the bottom of the lake. We'll find out. But here's the issue: if this is being done over and over again, eventually the truth is coming out. So what do? You drain the area, make sure there's enough farmland, and eventually you extend the city of Rotterdam to what it is now. And then because today there are hospitals, shopping centers, um, rich neighborhoods, there are schools, there are so many things over here. Nobody is going to think that in the past there were many big lakes over there. Nobody's going to figure out the big and past of the area. And here's the issue. Just because people don't know the big and past doesn't mean the past doesn't affect them. Places where there were a lot of blood sacrifices, those places tend to be haunted by negativity and misfortune. So if you drain that area and build a neighborhood over there, the public that lives there or the people that are born there, they will pick up the negative vibration of the area. And if they're not aware, they'll end up collaborating with the past and the past repeats itself. So that's why some of these neighborhoods in Rotterdam, located in the area where those lakes used to be, they have a lot of crime and a bad reputation. From time to time, the situation improves, then it gets worse because it's a cycle. It's not bad 24/7 all year long. It's a cycle, goes up and down. Why the past is repeating itself. So as a believer, understand the place where you live matters. If the place where you live has a dark, pagan, bloody past, that past has to be dealt with by the public. If the public won't deal with it, the public will end up repeating the past. So sometimes, as a believer, the reason why you don't succeed in life is because you're surrounded by the past. Namely, the people around you are part of the past you need to overcome. So the best thing for you to do is to move. Now, even if you find a spouse and your spouse suits you, if your spouse is from an area and she or he has not been delivered from the generational contention of that area, that's going to hinder you too. Even businesses, corporations, companies, they investigate the history of a place before they establish one of their locations. Because if you establish one of your location of your business in an area with a dark pagan past, eventually a dark pagan past will hinder your business. Let me tell you one thing, believers. You cannot succeed in an environment unless you're in harmony with the environment. Now, can a place with dark pagan past be cleansed by believers? It can. Even though trace will be left behind till the day Jesus comes back, we can still cleanse it locally as believers. But the issue is often the environment, that means the people around us don't want to comply. So only our house and the street where we live is cleansed. And that's enough. If you as a believer, together with other believers, can cleanse the street you live in, that's fine. That's enough. Don't take charge of the whole area if the people around you are not interested in finding solutions. So as a believer, there are two things you need to watch out for. Is this place too good to be true? Is everything in the environment so smooth, so easy? Way too easy? Then you know that the authorities, as well as the undercover pagan networks, are hiding something. For example, if you go into an area and the price of the houses are so cheap, even though the house is so expensive, that's a red flag. Or if the place is so promoted all the time in the media, they're covering something. The second thing you need to look for is, do the people from this area have a common dysfunction? If the people from an area have a common dysfunction, it's not just culture, it's something spiritual that works out in the present. Pay attention to those two things. Again, you can cleanse the street you live in together with other believers, or you can overrule the pollution on a daily basis with decreased decorations. Just understand, the public is responsible for processing the past. Even if your parents were migrants and they moved over there and they don't have any ancestry over there, they're part of the environment. Human beings have to process the past, so the past cannot repeat itself. Unfortunately, the past repeats itself over and over again. It's not only in the Netherlands, it happens everywhere. All right? And it's a third thing you need to pay attention to. Are are wealthy people avoiding this area? I'm not talking about the ghetto. Sometimes you have a so-called well-off neighborhood, but it seems like a lot of the rich folks are avoiding establishing themselves over there, whether their business or their residence, they avoid the place. Then you know what's up. Then you know what's up. So again, check whether the place is too good to be true, check whether it's a common function, and check whether wealthy or rich people, despite the neighborhood being so-called fine, are avoiding the neighborhood.